All right, so in this video, we are going to cover binary arithmetics. So everything here being covered is going to be addition, like subtraction, multiplication, division, but using binary numbers, right? It's not really difficult, you know. But the division probably need more practice on that. So let's take a look at the example for addition first. Addition, and then let's take a simple one first, right? 110 plus 111, for example. So 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is you have a carry, then reset this digit into 0, and then 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. So 3 will be 1, 1, right? This is how you do this very simple version. So that's this plus this, you got this, okay? And what about a more complicated one? For example, if I have this, a lot of ones, right? And now let's take a look at this. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 for this column, it's 3, so it's going to be 1, 1, right? You got a carry here and put 1 here. So 1, 1 is 3, right? And now you have 4. How to do that? So we know 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is 100, right? So when you are labeling the carry, you cannot put it here because if you put it here, it's going to be 2, right? So what you want to do is, if you have a 4 here, you just put a 1 here. Just skip this one and put a carry here, and then 0, 0. Okay, and now it's 3 again. So 3 is 1, 1. And now 5 is 101, right? So 101. And 3 is 1, 1. 2 is 1, 0. That's the leftover here, right? It's 2, the 2 carries. So if you have more rows, right, you don't have to carry just in one digit front in the front of this column. You can carry wherever you want as long as it makes sense, right? So if you have a 4, it's going to be 100, so you need to skip 1 here, 1 digit here, and carry to this column, right? Is that making sense? All right, so I think this is just 2 examples here. If you know how to do these things, these 2 examples, you should be able to do the homework and do well in the exam, right? Now subtraction. It's pretty simple if you have like a bigger number minus a smaller number. So 1 minus 1 is 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, 1 minus 0 is 1. Straightforward. So what about something like 1, 0, 0, 1 minus 1, 1, 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 minus 1, you don't have enough numbers to subtract the 1 from this number. So you want to borrow from the front digit. Whenever you borrow it, the number being borrowed is actually 2. So you're adding a 2 here. So now you have 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So this digit has been borrowed for 1. So now it used to be 0, but borrowed by 1. So now what you have here is going to be minus 1, which is the leftover. Okay, so definitely minus 1 is not enough to subtract 1. So need to borrow from here. So when you borrow from here, what you got is 2. Right? So 2 plus minus 1 is going to be 1. plus 1, right? And plus 1 minus 1 will be 0. And this one has been borrowed, so it used to be 1, but get borrowed already, so it's going to be 0 left. So finally, the result for this subtraction is going to be 0, 0, 1, 0, or just 1, 0, which is 2. Okay. So let's start a new page for multiplication. One zero one one times 111. How is that? So this number times this number, you use this number times all the digits and put them here. So 1 times everything is going to be 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. And then this digit, 1 times 1 is 1. Make sure you shift to the left by 1 digit, okay? So 1 times 1 is 1. So actually 1 times everything is going to be this number, right? So we just directly write it down. Same thing here. Just don't forget to shift. And then you just add them together. So 1 carry 1 0 and 1 1 1 1 1 0 1 0. So that's the final result, right? So it's pretty similar to when you are doing the multiplication in using decimal numbers, but the only difference is when you have all these things, you add them together in the binary form, but not the decimal form. So just let's think about. So for example, these numbers are in this example they are binary numbers. If we have a same number here, 1 1 1. Sorry, this digit is here. So if they are decimal numbers, for example, so what that will look like. So when you are doing the multiplication, it's actually the same rules, right? So 1 times everything is going to be 1011. So now this number is not binary anymore. It's 1011. And then you do it again, 1101, 1101, and you add them together. What you are getting is 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1. Right? So that's the final result for this multiplication, and in a decimal form. So that's the difference between these two numbers. Okay. Division. Let's take a look at the example first. For example, 1011 divided by 111. Okay. So we are trying to divide this number by this smaller number. You are trying to look at from the left to the right first. So you want to divide this number by, you want to look at 101 first, right? So, but the problem is 101 cannot be divided by 111. It's smaller than that. So that's why we need to use the entire 4 digits here. So we need a 1 here. So 1 times 101 is going to be 111. And what's left over here? It's going to be 0, 0, and 0 minus 1 is, you borrow, you get a 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, right? So that's the result, and that's the remainder, okay? That's a pretty simple example. And now let's add a 1 here after that. 1, 0, 1, 1, 1 divided by 1, 1, 1. Now let's take a look at this. Same thing, same rules, right? We start looking at from the left side of the number. 101, 3 digits is not enough. We add one more digit here, 1011, and then we put a 1 here. You got 111, and this number minus this number, you are going to get 001, right? It's the same thing as we got here, and you put a 1 here, and then 1011 divided by this, you can use a 1 here. It's going to be 111, and this subtract this, it's going to be 0. you borrow from here, you get a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. It has minus 1 right now, and you borrow 2, you get a 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0, and this is 0 as well, right? So that's the result, that's the remainder. Okay, this is how to do it. But let's explain further how that works. Why, when you are doing the division, why you start looking from the left side to the right side, and you trying to get a 3-digit number first to divide this number here. So why do you do that? Why do you do that in that way? If you understand this, it's going to be super simple for you in the future. So you can remember this forever, right? So for division, we got more examples here. So, I'm pretty sure you know how to do a division in operation using decimal numbers. If you have a decimal number, for example, let's still use this number, divided by 23. So what does that mean? That means how many 23s do you have in this number? I mean, if you have this amount of, whatever, like rods, yeah, okay, you have so many rods or chopsticks or whatever, you have this many of these wooden rods here, and totally 537. And you want to divide this number by 23, right? So that's 23. So the result for this division operation will be how many this 23 group you have in this entire number here. So how many do you have? And then if you cannot divide this one and get an integer, you get a little remainder here, okay? So which means you have a group. How many groups of this one? For example, like probably 20 or something groups over here. And then you have a little remainder. So let's see what's the result here, okay? 53. So usually when you are doing a division from here, we usually start from here, looking at the 2 digits, and we put a number 2. Okay, so keep in mind, what is 2 here? 2 is not 2. 2 is 20. We just didn't put it down here. So let's just put 20 here. So when you are dividing this entire number of amount of rods into several groups of 23s, we are trying to group them in a bigger number first. So at least, so when you are doing this, the first step, at least you have 20 of 23 in here first. Okay, so 20 times 23 will be 460. And you do a subtraction from there. So it's going to be 7, and you borrow. And so you have 77 here, which is the remainder for the first step, right? But however, after 20, it should be more than 20 because 77 can be divided by 23 for some kind of number. And now we know 20 is not right, but it should be 20 something, right? So now we know 2 is right at this digit, but 0 is not right. So let's get rid of 0, and now we start dividing 77 by 23. So this is a little left over here after we get 20 groups of 23s. Okay, and now how many 23s do you have in 77? Probably 3. So it's going to be 9, 6, and finally this will be 8. So the final result will be 23 and the remainder is 8. This is how we do a decimal division, right? We have learned this a lot previously. You learn this in high school, or middle school. It's pretty simple for you, okay? You should know this. And now let's look at the binary division. Still the same example, 1 0 1 1 1 divided by 1 1 1. Same concept. So when we put a 1 here, It's actually not 1. So what is that? So as this digit is actually not 1, what is this number is? It's going to be 2, right? So we know 1, 0 is 2 in binary. If we are looking at this number, we put a 2 here first, and 2 times this one, we are going to get 1, 1, 1, 0. 0, right? This is this number times this one. That's the first time you do a division, and I put 1, 0 here, but I know it's going to be won't be 0 probably, but I just put this number here for now. I know it's going to be at least you have 2 of this one, 2 groups of this in this number, right? And now we do a subtraction to find out the leftover. So you get 1 here, 0 here, 0 here, and borrow, you get 1 here. That's the leftover for the first time. And now we find out, hey, the leftover can be divided by this one as well. So now we know that 0 is not right, so it should be 1. And if we put 1 here, so 1 times everything is going to be 1, 1, 1. And we do a subtraction again. You got 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 minus 1, you need to borrow. 1 here, and borrow again. 0 here, 0, right? So the final result will be 1, 1, and the remainder is 1, 0. That's the final result in the binary form. Okay, this is how you do the division. So now you should be able to understand, why we do the division in using these steps, because every step makes sense, and we put a number here. Keep in mind that that digit here is not 2, it's actually 20. So the process of a division operation is just like we are trying to divide a bigger number into several smaller groups. And finally, sometimes you cannot totally divide that number in these groups. You have some leftovers, which is called remainders. But you have to do this step by step. When you are trying to find out the result here, you are starting from the left, from the bigger number. After that, you move to the another digit after that, trying to find out the smaller number, just so on and so forth, and finally get the final result. Okay, so for example, here we know we at least have 20 of 23s in that group. And so that's why we get this, and we find the leftover, and leftover can be divided by this number again. So we get a smaller number. So finally we get, all these numbers, all these draws being grouped into the 23s, and finally have a little remainder there. Okay, so this is how we do division, and if you understand this, you should be fine for all these division in the future. It doesn't have to be binary, can be octal, can be hex, should be straightforward for you guys. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. We'll see you in the next video.